We know in business, funds can be raised from various sources. The sources can be shareholder funds and it can also be from borrowings. Shareholder funds can be like share capital, which is can be in the form of equity or it can be in the form of preference, and shareholder funds can also be out of reserves and surplus. And when it comes to borrowings, it can be borrowings in the form of debentures, in the form of bonds, or in the form of bank loans. So, what we know is every funds has a cost. Let it be the owner's funds, it has a cost. And what is the cost for owner's funds, or what is the cost of equity? It is nothing but the minimum return which they could have earned by making elsewhere investment. So if somebody is investing in equity share, they are expecting a minimum return which they can earn by making investment elsewhere. So that's the cost of equity. And we can also borrow from outsiders, and those funds also have a cost, and that is called as borrowing cost, which will be mainly in the form of interest. So when it comes to equity, the minimum return, that is which can be earned by making investment elsewhere, is the cost, and when it comes to borrowings, the interest is the major borrowing cost. So we know the outsiders as well as the owners are giving funds to the business, and all funds have a cost, and that cost is called as cost of capital. So how cost of capital is useful? Let's understand. In business, if you want to make any investment, for that you have to do the capital budgeting exercise for taking a decision. Similarly, for making that investment, what we need is funds, and funds can be raised only based on capital structure decisions. So let's understand this. Capital budgeting decision can be anything like replacement, or it can be an expansion, it may be for modernization or diversification. But for that, the funds have to be raised only after taking a capital structure decision. That is something like, what is the mix of capital that have to be raised, what should be the debt and equity component, and again the funds can be raised only after analyzing the payout policy, like when these funds have to be paid back, what is the return that have to be paid for them, or what is the cost that should be incurred on that, and how the equity or existing capital structure will undergo change because of raising funds. So all these are there. So it is not merely a capital budgeting decision where a decision is taken on creating an assets, but it is more of capital structuring decision, like how funds have to be mobilized by looking into all these parameters. So the capital structure decision is very important because it has to be taken after this debt equity mix consideration, payout policy, existing capital structure, and all these have risk as well as return. So the risk as well as the return only basically represents the value of the firm, and the capital structure decision basically decides the value of the firm. So we understand that capital structure is very important, and for that cost of capital plays a key role. So what is cost of capital? Cost of capital is nothing but the discount rate which is used for computing the present value of cash flows, which will help an organization to decide whether to go ahead with the project or not. So it is basically the discount rate which is used for calculating the present value of cash flows, and it is also nothing but the minimum rate of return which they should earn to maintain their market value. So cost of capital is the minimum rate of return which they should earn to maintain their market value, and it is also called as an opportunity cost, or the return that can be earned by making same level of investment with same risk level. So cost of capital have to be calculated for all the long-term funds. So calculation of cost of capital is for all long-term funds, basically the equity, reserves and surplus, preference shares and long-term debts. In the subsequent sessions, we'll understand how to compute the cost of capital for each and every component of capital.